think you're still on mute.
Well, we're going to start over in our first show. Welcome to Season 1, Episode 1 of Bookish Talk, our international show that empowers bookish readers and inspiring authors. We're so excited that you're choosing to spend this time with us. I am Paula Shepard, and I'm honored to co-host this enlightening show with Devin Galaudet, author of the book 10,000 Miles with My Dead Father's Ashes. We're going to learn about his book in just a few minutes. Bookish's mission is to encourage our viewers to read books, so it seems really fitting to start with why. Thomas J. Law, expert, B2B, SaaS content marketing consultant at Research the 10 Reasons Why We Should Read Books.
And we have the list of 10 right here. These are the top 10 reasons to follow Bookish every single Friday. Number 10, gain valuable knowledge. Number 9, exercise your brain. Number 8, improve your focus. Number 7, improve your memory. 6, improve sleep. I love that one. Number 5, improve your ability to empathize. 4, improve your communication. Number 3, reduce stress. Number 2, improve your mental health, which, by the way, we're going to discuss in just a moment. And the number 1 reason is that you live longer. So how are we going to do that, Paula?
So we're going to do that by encouraging people to read books, because the research has really proven that 30 minutes, that's it, just 30 minutes of reading every single day can actually lower your blood pressure. It can lower your heart rate and really lower your feelings of psychological distress. And there's actually another study that discovered that reading is the very best way to reduce stress. I know it's one of the ways that I do. And that's compared to doing things like taking a walk, having a cup of coffee or tea, and playing video games, which my teenagers do a lot of. So this study found that 6 minutes, just 6 minutes of reading is actually enough time to reduce stress levels by more than 2/3. And Dr. David Lewis actually said that losing yourself in a book is the ultimate relaxation in his cognitive neurological conducted study. So Devin, what about mental health and reading?
I'm glad you asked that, Paula. The positive side of reading also extends to mental health. Researchers have studied the effects of self-help books and have found that many have a measurable impact on depression and other mood disorders. As a result, the UK's National Health Service, NHS, began a book prescription program called Reading Well. The service prescribes self-help books curated by medical experts for certain conditions. The act of using books as therapy is called bibliotherapy. So if you're struggling, despite what life looks like on Instagram, because we all struggle from time to time, consider reading one of the books on NHS's curated list, which are proven to help ease symptoms. So wait, Paula, is it true that readers live longer and reading helps exercise and sharpen our brains?
Well, I was actually really, really excited and very interested to find that it actually does turn out that health benefits of reading do help us live longer. There was a study, it was a 12-year study on health and retirement that found that those who read books actually lived 2 years longer than those who didn't read books or magazines or any other form of media. And the people that read 30 minutes a day were actually 23% more likely to outlive those who didn't read often. So it's a great way to exercise our brains, make us smarter, make us sharper. But the knock-on effect of this is actually that reading helps us prevent age-related cognitive decline. And I know I'm all about that. So one study found that older adults who regularly read, who do mental challenge games like chess, are actually even 2.5 times less likely to develop Alzheimer's disease. And people who don't exercise, on the other hand, their gray matter actually stands a chance of losing brain power. And that's what was covered by a study by author Dr. Robert Friedland. So while we're on the topic of actually living longer, before we go on a break, what inspired you to write and title your book 10,000 Miles with My Dead Father's Ashes?
Well, okay. So first off, I have to say this with love. My father was a liar, a thief, and a con man. And for the first 25 years of my life, I tried to be just like him. Nailed it. And so, according to his seventh wife, uh, his final request was to return home to Cadiz, Spain. He wasn't Spanish, and I took him anyway. And there I lost the ashes. As you might imagine, this was an incredibly emotional journey for me. And I think it sort of, begs the question of how do you love someone and hate them at the same time? How can you want to be just like somebody, have them be your greatest hero, and know that you can't do that? And so, like, after my first 25 years, I tried to really take a look at myself and become somebody else. So how do I do all this and be a good son? Well, I guess what we do is we write about our stories and we try to tell the truth even when it's painful, and we do the best that we can from one moment to the next. And so this book covers a lot of territory, and certainly the 10,000 miles. Although I think the trip was really, like, from where I'm sitting in Long Beach, California, to Spain is about 7,000 miles. So, I don't know, maybe 10,000 miles. The round trip was where we were at.
Did you have a close relationship with your father? Is that what really inspired you to write this book?
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, I loved my father. He was somebody who was really important in my life on a day-to-day basis. He was the guy that if I had the skinned knee, he was going to kiss the boo-boo, so to speak. He was a lot of great big warm hugs. And he was also a very dubious, unreliable character. And he was the kind of guy that if you got him in a room, you'd love him, because he was warm and charming and, hold your hand. And he was just a big, strong, warm guy. But if he wasn't, he belonged to the world, as he would put it. And, it was one of those things that, again, I had to go through these periods. And I think the book covers it really pretty honestly, is that, there was this part where I really loved all of it. Like, I think he, and I'm sure most people understand that, if you're a young man, you look to your father for what does a man supposed to do? And really what I remember most about him was a lot of drinking, a lot of smoking, and a lot of carousing. And, like I said, right at the beginning, that was the stuff that I tried to emulate. Turns out I wasn't all that good at it.
I actually listened to the preview of your book on Audible, which I believe that you read that, correct?
I do. Yeah.
It's a really, honestly, incredibly compelling piece when you just listen to that beginning. I wasn't expecting the turn. It really is not a long segment to listen to, but it was, hearing from your dad joking around. There was a lot of like joking and pretending and trying to kind of get your goat, for lack of a better term. Why did you choose that piece as your excerpt?
Well, to be quite honest with you, my book was traditionally published, so I didn't choose, the particular excerpt. One of the things that, if you notice, this is sort of like this is the copy of my book that when I do book readings and things like that, there's a handful of sections that I read from, and I think. I think the devil is in the details, for lack of a better description. So what that means to me is, I think it's really important to read the hard stuff. And I think it's, since we're going to be talking a lot about writing in future episodes, it's absolutely about writing the hard stuff, the things that are the things that we want to keep secrets, or the parts that we have to really kind of let out. I think those are the pieces that are most compelling and most human.
I would agree. If we were to look at what I love to read and actually focus on, if we were looking at, let's say, television, how many people really love an idea of a documentary or a series like that, and what books like yours do in terms of memoirs really do bring that to life in a way that we can create the vision in our own mind. And I think that that's just really amazing. The power of the mind, where I could see it differently than the way it would be presented to me otherwise, simply through reading the book.
Well, I think what you just said is really one of the greatest reasons of why we should read, because it taps into this sort of potential that's happening in our minds at any point in time. In other words, I know, like, I live these stories, and at the same time, the words that I'm sharing with you are going to paint a different picture in your mind, and they get to be whatever they are. In other words, I've had people come to me and say, "Oh my God, that book was hilarious." I've also had people come up to me and say, "Oh my gosh, that book was so dark and sad." And so, personally, I was trying to kind of create a dark humor. So they're both right. And truthfully, anybody taking anything away from it is going to bring their own style and their own energy to the book, because really it's an interplay between writer and reader.
Amazing. Amazing.
Well, thank you. And so we're going to obviously be doing more books in the future, lots of them. And when we come back from our commercial break, we will introduce our Bookish Club co-hosts. We'll be right back.
Maya Angelou stated, "The life is not measured by the number of breaths we take, but by the moments that take our breath away. Encourage, enlighten, empower."
I'm Gina Rock, and we're discussing how to choose books for your book club. The first rule is that not all books lead to a good discussion. Even though there's a book that's #1 on the New York Times bestseller list, doesn't mean that it's going to be a good book for discussion. You want to choose books that have depth to them, that have a little controversy to them, so that you actually have something to talk about. There are lots of places available where you can find good books that are good for discussion. Actually, most books that you read in high school probably would be good books for discussion, because they have that literary quality. But don't limit yourself to fiction. Make sure you widen your horizons. Choose genres that you may not normally read, like science fiction. Make sure you look at nonfiction books as well. Particularly biographies or memoirs are always really interesting to discuss. Consider reading children's books as well. A lot of us have children, and it's interesting to be able to read the books that they're reading and discuss them also. Don't limit yourself to novels or books. Why don't you read plays, or maybe even poetry or short stories? There's a lot of reading material available, and part of what you want to do is expand your horizons, expand your experiences as an adult, so that you are a well-read person and you can be in the conversations.
Well, welcome back to Bookish Talk. Devin and I shared with our viewers the top 10 reasons for being bookish, but there's actually another side to our mission at Bookish Club: enlightening, encouraging, and empowering our viewers to write their story. So we're really honored to have 3 respected award-winning authors and publishers that are going to enlighten our viewers on how to simplify the process of journaling, writing, and publishing their own story to empower others. Devin, would you do us the honors of introducing our members?
It would be my honor, Paula. Our first co-host is Linda Sunshine West, who's an author, speaker, and CEO of Action Takers Publishing. We also have Ken Smiley Rashan, who is an author, publisher, and founder of the Keep Smiling movement. And Mireille Tulekima is an author and global advisor in energy and STEM. So wonderful to have you all here, and thank you for making the choice to encourage, enlighten, and empower our Bookish Club. I've got to know, because we've got such wonderful people here, can you share with our viewers why you're passionate about this particular mission and what your companies are doing to empower the next generation of authors?
I guess I'll go first. Yes, first, it's incredible first of all, I love what Devin was sharing beforehand. He was sharing that when people read a book, read a story or what have you, they're interpreting it however they interpret it. And so it's cool because we don't know what impact we may or may not make when we write a book. And for me, my very, very first stab at writing a book, I've always my whole entire life said, I'm not a writer. I'm not a writer. I'm not a writer. Because I was comparing myself to, people like Stephen King and, people who are really, really great, well-known writers. And so when I had an opportunity to write my first book, it was actually in a collaboration book. And my mentor invited me to write in that. And when I shared my story, I was actually terrified for the book to go out. And I didn't even tell anybody about it for about a year because I was so scared that people would read my words on paper. And that comes from, a lot of my past. But, here's the thing is that once I did that, that's what opened up that door for me to say, maybe I do make an impact when I write. So I need to start doing that more. And then I started writing more. This is only 7 years ago. 51 years old is when I started writing, started believing in myself and sharing my story. So that's why I've got it. I'm into it now. I love it. You can't stop me now.
I'd like to, I guess, echo what Linda's saying. And your first segment was so beautiful. And what a great segue to this conversation. Linda is not sharing because she's so humble that she entered this actually as a passion and a mission to help others get their voice. And she did it with actually paying for them to have their voice. So I wanted to acknowledge her and Dr. Greg Reid because they gave her a voice and a light and a mission and purpose. So my mom had to die of Alzheimer's. Unfortunately, I was a caregiver, and in watching her leave, I realized that she was just one more person I loved that was leaving this planet, that I didn't know her real story. I knew she loved me. I knew she was a great mom, but I didn't know what she went through in her life to become who she was. And she had a master's in reading, history, and English. And here she was leaving and losing her language ability to say in a notebook way, hey, all this was done because I love you, or all this was done because I created it. And so I became very passionate. I did a book, my first book at age 39, called Becoming the Perfect Networker, Succeeding One Connection at a Time. It was about how we pass a business card and we don't pass more than that. We don't pass value. We don't pass a connection or relationship. And I thought, what if a business card could turn into a conversation that turned into a legacy piece? And so I became very passionate about publishing inspiring stories that position people to be an expert, but more importantly, to have them move people's hearts that they can be trusted to actually carry their story. So thank you for that question.
Rae?
Yeah, I really like, how the conversation is going, because for me, books are really empowering because I started to write because I wanted to have a voice. I've spent most of my career working in male-dominated environment, and I really didn't have a voice. I was stuck in, in everything that I was doing, and writing actually gave me this voice, and that's how I started. I started with, just writing about my expertise, but then it actually led me to write more about my story, about the kind of leadership that I want to see in the world, and also to inspire people, to make them understand that at the end of the day, they are really, the master of their life. And whatever is happening, whatever circumstances that they have to go through, they can actually be the one, solving the problems if they go inside and sometimes if they write it down. Because by writing, we basically get all this energy that helps us to believe in ourselves, but also to create a certain, environment that is very conducive and really bring, solution to anything that we can go through. So it's really for me about empowering people. The way I write is really about empowering people, making sure that they understand that they are unlimited and anything that they're looking for, it's already inside of them, and they need to go deep inside and step into it. And I'm all about greatness. Everything that I write about is about greatness, apart from, writing on my personal, on my skill, my technical skills. And it's really this, what I call making sure that we leave nothing on the table of life. And that's really what, my writing is all about.
Amazing. I love all those answers. And I know we've kind of covered already what really inspired all of you to get started. And but I'm curious, what's one personal challenge that you had to overcome becoming a writer and actually publishing that book? And Dr. Smiley, can we start with you?
Yes. So my uncles and grandmother had already been published when I was around 12, and just seeing what that meant from my standpoint of they were important, they did something great. I always wanted to publish a book myself. So 30 years passed, and I asked myself, what is it that stops someone? And I think it's that they don't find their purpose. They don't find that they're worthy, and they need to step into that power. So when my mom was dying, I said, I have to at least take on that I know something, I can give something to the world. So I'm going to just start writing. And this is an interesting thing, but I actually fired all my friends who were in my inner circle because they weren't authors. And I created a new inner circle of authors. And I asked them a very simple question. What is it to be an author? How do we start? How do I start to be an author? And they said, very simply, write. And so that gave me the power to actually create something 13 months later. And when I saw how easy it was, I thought, what a shame it is that most people don't know how easy it was. So I wanted to share that secret with them.
Amazing. Oh my gosh. I love that you fired your inner circle, the way that you just said that. And that's really important, I think, in pretty much anything, but it's interesting to me in terms of writing a book. What about you, Linda?
Yeah, my greatest obstacle was me. I was truly that obstacle. I grew up in a very volatile, abusive, alcoholic environment. And that environment, what it did for me or to me is that it created a lot of fear, and it created a people pleaser. And so I just beat myself up mentally all the time about how stupid and ignorant I was. I had no business sharing my story. I had no business thinking that anybody would think that I mattered, right? So I was beating myself up mentally for decades. So at age 51, I ended up hiring a life coach, and she's the one who kind of like put me on that path of self-discovery to realize that I do have greatness inside of me. Like Marie says, like I do have greatness. And it was that start that got me moving. And then it was when I started to believe in myself that I started to share myself. And so the obstacle for me was me, and I am no longer that obstacle.
Oh my gosh, that's so powerful. All right, Marie, tell us your challenge.
I like it. For me, it was more the culture, because I come from a culture where you pass on stories, by telling them. So it was very difficult. I didn't have in my family anybody that was a writer. So it was really a change of mindset. I actually went to a conference, and somebody was talking about how writing books actually change everything the gentleman was relating how books actually change his life. And that's when, I realized, because trying to get my voice, trying to reach out to different people, especially, outside my immediate community, I just realized the power that I could have just, starting to write, not only writing about my work or writing about something that, that is really dear to me, but also telling my story, because the power really came when I wrote my second book, which was a self-development book called Stepping into Your Greatness, 12 Rules for Building an Outstanding Life. That's really when I realized the power of, of writing, because I could actually write my story, share with people what are the rules that have actually worked to make me the person that I am today. And really open up, this conversation with them, because they could actually see themselves in everything that I wrote. So that was really powerful. But I think the beginning was very difficult. Like Linda was saying, you start to doubt yourself. Who are you to write a book? You can tell your story, but writing a book, do you have the competence? Do you have the right to do that, especially me being in a technical area. What are you know? What are you going to write about? So that has been really the key challenge. But luckily, going to this conference gave me, you know, the shift that I needed to really start doing it.
Amazing. There's so much expansion in all of these answers. But we actually have one more question. This is from our live chat on our website. And it says, I'm interested in joining the Bookish Club. Linda, can you tell me more about your mission to encourage 5 million people to become authors? How will you encourage young people?
Yeah, it's about that empowerment, right? Because when we believe in ourselves, we are empowered and we can move to that next level, whatever that is for us. And I really highly encourage, just like Devin was sharing earlier in the first segment, you know, like when we share our story, there's something cathartic that happens and we start to see ourselves differently. And it was through me sharing my story and continuing to share my story that it helped me to grow. It helped me to also change my story, change the narrative. You know, I grew up hating my dad, and now I have respect for him for what he went through because I have changed the narrative of my own story. So the empowerment of those 5 million people to share their story with the world, this is about helping them to become better people, or to see themselves differently in a different light. And so I'm just excited about this journey because, you know, writing has changed my life, and actually publishing is what I absolutely love doing. Is my favorite thing. And, you know, the publishing aspect is where I do the empowerment to push them out there, push them off the ledge.
That is absolutely incredible. I appreciate each and every one of you for being here and taking the time to answer questions and help us learn. And actually, in our next segment, Meet the Author, you're going to have the opportunity to meet Morgana Rae. She's the author of The Financial Alchemy. We'll be right back.
One of my favorite quotes from C.S. Lewis is, "You can't go back and change the beginning, but you can start where you are and you can change the ending. Empower, encourage, enlighten."
And we are back with Bookish Talk. So this is going to be a new segment. I think we're going to do this most weeks. This is our Meet the Author segment. And we are excited to have the incomparable Morgana Rae with us today. How did you get in my dining room? She is the author of the book, Financial Alchemy, 12 Months of Magic and Manifestation. And she is our first guest author ever. Morgana, we have an incredible mission to encourage our viewers to join the Empowering Bookish Club and get 5 million bookish individuals to write and publish their story. So before we get into that piece, what is financial alchemy?
Alchemy is the transmutation of lead into gold. And for my purposes, it's the transmutation of lead and human experience into spiritual and material gold. And it's based on my own experience of failing everything, and law of attraction, vision boards, all the positive thinking. I was an Ivy League educated, like straight A student, half a dozen certifications in my profession, movie star clients, mountains of testimonials, and I was still struggling to make $100 a month in Los Angeles. Beat that. And I know we've been talking a lot about telling your stories. I am honestly so sick of my own story, and yet I share my story to help others. And that's why I wrote my book. Is there are only so many people that I can help one-to-one, but with a book I can help so many more people.
So many people think you need to be somehow special, important or have some kind of incredible skill in order to become an author. Can you share what exactly inspired you to write this book, and how did that go? What was the stirring piece?
First of all, I graduated from college with the promise that I would never, ever, ever make myself write again. So the big joke is that I write all the time. What inspired this book in particular was I was booked for a giant speaking gig at LAX Conference Center. The LAX is the big airport, the big hotels, I can't even remember. It was a really big conference. And I realized that all I had to sell was coaching, which is sort of like proposing marriage on a first date, a little much. And I knew that I needed something to offer besides me, take me. So I had been working with this self-coaching system for myself for a few years, and I've been overachieving all of my goals. And so here I had 2 weeks, and I knew I was going to be speaking, and I had a booth, and I needed something to offer. And I work really well with the threat of public humiliation. And for me, that was like, oh, here I am and I have nothing. So that was what inspired me to write down my story, write down what I consider the best follow-up exercises to my process, to just lay it all out there, and then create a self-coaching system for a year and put it all into one book. So my first publisher was Office Max. And that was my publisher for a good number of years. And I actually went on a national book tour with TV interviews and huge radio show interviews and speaking across the country, publishing books at FedEx and Office Max and Home Depot across the nation back in 2007. It's ridiculous. And it wasn't until I signed with, honestly, the world's top nonfiction book agent, the agent who represents Eckhart Tolle and Marie Kondo and all of them. And he wanted a book proposal, and that terrified me. So back in 2013, almost 10 years ago, I devised a plan to become a best-selling author as a procrastination strategy so that my agent wouldn't notice that I wasn't writing the book proposal. And that's when the book went on Amazon. I discovered last year that Walmart carries my book. I've made hundreds of thousands of dollars with my self-published book. And when I go to other countries, strangers spot me in restaurants and airports and hotels. And they go, excuse me, are you Morgana Rae, the money honey lady? And they tell me that I've changed their lives and I didn't have to do anything. Yes, so not only does it serve me by helping more people than I could coach myself, it also relieves me of guilt for the people that I'm not available to or maybe can't invest at my fee level. Fine. It's a way to, for any of you who are in a service, it to me, it's sort of my get out of guilt jail free card to have a book. And it also brings me some of my best clients. Like Devin, you know that because you've met her, one of my favorite clients, Pam, hired me for a year after she had her first $250,000 sales month using my book before we ever talked. So yeah, what inspired me to write the book, even though I had sworn, that I would never, ever write again, is it's just really useful. It's useful to get your story out there to help and support and guide other people. For those of us who are in services, and we just can't serve everybody because there's 7 billion people, it's an act of generosity to have something there that can help people
so that they don't all have to hire you, so that you can have a life and get married 100 times in 100 countries around the world.
So on a personal level, what has being an author meant to you?
That is so funny, because you were around when I was doing my book launch. And I have to say, full disclosure, besides the procrastination strategy, the book launch process for me was so much fun, like ridiculous fun. It was like a big party, inviting all of my favorite people to have a roundtable conference on money, love, and magic, and to go on a blog tour. This was, I think, before podcasts were a big thing. And I loved the whole process of it so much that I actually forgot that the point was to become a best-selling author. And that honestly didn't even occur to me until the day of the launch. It was like, oh, right, yikes, I hope somebody buys it, was sort of an afterthought, because I'm just preaching my message, that if you're doing everything you're supposed to be doing and you aren't getting the results that you deserve and desire, you're probably protecting yourself from what you want and you don't even know it. And what I do is I take those fears and we personify it as the monster, the real reason that you never knew about, that you protect yourself from money, whether you are not making enough or and by the way, I've coached billionaires. It's like you're not making enough, or you're really good at making it and getting rid of it, or attracting drama. So there's fear and drama and pain on any spectrum that's rooted in deeper issues around love and worth and safety. And so I love to take those really underlying, what is the monster behind the money story question, and personifying it into a monster, because that's the only thing that worked for me. Was when I made money a person, was like, whoa, oh my God. No wonder I don't have money in my life, even though I'm doing everything right. It was when I realized that unconsciously, below my awareness, I was protecting myself from this money guy. If I personified money, it made sense for the first time in my life. And I had to get rid of the guy, this relationship with money that was rooted in making me feel bad and getting in the way of love and all sorts of bad things in the world, and replace that relationship with money with a new person who was all love and hot and sweet and beautiful and loved me, and I didn't want to reject. So it's based on love, not on, hey, what have you bought for me lately? That kind of relationship with money just becomes another monster. So I took this really weird, unique approach that nobody else was talking about. Now I've got I've got some copycats out there. But at the time, I was like, whoa, that's so weird. And it resonated with people. So how it's changed my life is I get letters from strangers every day, from people telling me that I've changed their life. And I do believe that money doesn't create happiness, although the lack of money definitely causes misery. But the true purpose of money is to support love and lifestyle and legacy. So my message is all about love. My relationship with money is based on how can I be a loving person? Loving to my clients, loving to the world, loving to myself, loving to my partner, this imaginary money honey person who shares my values and wants to save the world with me and be my partner and encourage me when I feel scared to do the right thing. So love. My relationship with you, if anybody hasn't figured out, I'm married to Devin. My money honey told me for years to hold out for somebody who loved me as much as this imaginary money did, and I did. Lifestyle. I'm the person who was struggling to make $100 a month. I've made millions of dollars since. Now I get to travel anywhere, anytime I want. I've got a beautiful house. Devin and I get to marry each other 100 times in 100 countries. Healthy lifestyle, we're safe during these crazy times. Legacy, hearing from people that I've helped. There's no greater joy on earth than doing what you love, helping other people and being rewarded well, which is what I want for everybody. And that's why I have a book. That's why I have a book to walk you through how to do it yourself, how to change your relationship with money, and how to keep that relationship going and overachieve all the goals you set for yourself with ease, flow, and synchronicity. Struggle is overrated. I don't recommend it. It's so much more fun when you act.
Morgana, because we have to go to a commercial break, but if somebody wants to track you down, how can they get in touch with you?
Easy peasy, MorganaRae.com. Just my name with the .com at the end. It's the mothership. You can find my book. You can find a secret bonus 2.5-hour Q&A session recording. If you go to the book page, there is a gift inside the book, but there's an extra book there's an extra gift nobody else knows about unless you go to my website and type in your name, email address, and receipt number, and then you will get a Q&A that will actually guide you through how to best use the book and answers to challenges that can come up.
That's wonderful. When we come back from our break, our co-host will read notes from their book recommendations in the Bookish Club. Thanks again, Morgana Rae, for being with us today.
An enlightening quote by Albert Einstein: "Strive not to be a success, but to be of value." Encourage, enlighten, empower.
Hello and good morning. It's time to prepare. For today, for tomorrow, the adventure's out there. See, I'm more than just stocks. I'm more than just bonds. I'm annuities, insurance, all things they lean on. It's a wealth and health strategy that may help them live long. So from interest to heart rates, everything's strong. Their next chapter is waiting, an exciting new stage. All they'll have to do is turn the next page.
Brian Tracy once said that optimism is the one quality most associated with success and happiness more than any other. Courage, enlightenment, and power.
Well, welcome back. This is the part where we're going to talk about Bookish Club. This is the segment of our show where all of our co-hosts are going to have the opportunity to share their personal book recommendations for January with the mission of encouraging you to become bookish and join our Bookish Book Club. So let's start with Linda.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I love this segment. I've chosen a book called Wealth Made Easy by my mentor, Reid. So I might be a little partial to it because he has literally changed my whole trajectory of my life, starting at age 51. But I love this book because what he does is he interviews. He's interviewed hundreds and hundreds of people and bringing them together, the millionaires and billionaires. And so I'm just going to share a couple of the little stories here. They are literally 1.5 pages long, each story. And they're really meant to help you to see wealth differently and how you can have wealth. So the first chapter I'm going to read, it's called Wealth Hack Number 1, Buy Dirt, B-U-Y, Dirt. Time plus dirt equals wealth. And also I want to share that another reason why I probably picked this book is because I've met many of the billionaires and millionaires he's talking about just by, like Ken said, he dumped off, these people out of his life. I have brought into my life these amazing people who have helped me to see myself differently. So time plus dirt equals wealth. Canadian land mogul Brian Sidorsky shares a concept so powerful and easy to understand that it challenges your imagination. When asked how he amassed a huge fortune in raw, undeveloped land, he sat back in his chair and he grinned. Time plus dirt is wealth, he exclaimed. Sidorsky clarifies his concept as follows. Find a town anywhere in North America that is growing 20 to 25% a year. Pinpoint their main street and draw a line out 8 miles from that location and buy that land. That is the dirt. Rent the soil to local farmers who will pay the rent that covers the cost, so it's free. Not to mention, you get great vegetables. As the town continues to expand, eventually it ends up on your property where you own the largest lot. And since you are already on Main Street, you can then sell that land to a big box store for 100 times what you paid for it. Boom. I love this because when I was talking to Brian about this theory, he just shared how he buy land and hold on to it. Hold on to it. Now, I'm not a buy and hold type of person, so I didn't really get the concept or anything, but I understand the concept. And for those who are interested in buying land, this is a really great concept to think about. Like, how can you turn that land into something that's going to turn into, for him, turned into billions. So I just wanted to share that one for today.
That's amazing. So Dr. Smiley, what about you?
Well, first of all, I wanted to acknowledge our Miss Sunshine West for giving that wonderful recommendation, because that's actually edifying the person that gave her the love and the ability to actually publish her story and become a publisher. So great job. Go Giver is by Bob Burg and Michael Mann. And it's a fable about how instead of go getting, where you're taking away from people or getting what you want out of people, that you give to people. And for 1 year, I decided to test this principle. And instead of asking anything for myself, I decided to go ahead and find out what they wanted and to give as a connector, as a person that just found value that I could give to them. And it changed my life. It caused my media company, my publishing company, all types of opportunities, because when you give to people, what happens is they feel the value and they absorb it and they say, gosh, I'd like to actually find out how I can help you as well. So be the first to cause someone to feel that you are a contributor, a giver, and you'll find that you get paid handsomely back.
I have to agree with that. I've actually never read this book, but now it's on my list. So thank you.
I'll just one more thing. Bob Burg has 5 other books, and every one of them is a principle of how you either sell better, do marketing better, etc. And he was the first person I hired to launch one of my companies. And it was one of the best things I'd ever done, because this principle of launching a company with giving will actually propel you into a community that actually understands that you are not about taking, it's about actually providing value.
Oh, that's amazing. It's really inspiring too. Marae.
Yes. So today I want to recommend Make It Happen, Manifest the Life of Your Dreams. And it's really in line of what I was talking about just, at the beginning, which is about, knowing that anything that you want, you can actually manifest it by understanding that you already have this power that is inside of you. And the book is really about, people who find themselves stuck in an area of their life, or any instances or any experience, and really get them to understand that they are, in control of what they do, and then they can all manifest the life that they want. Whatever they dream about, they can manifest it. And if they are conscious about, what they want and how they want to make it happen. And this book is really like a workshop in a way, that, you go through, because there's the theory that the author, talk about, but at the same time, she related to her own experience. And she comes up with a mathematical equation to explain how manifestation actually happen. And that's really powerful because she combined the spiritual with the science, and that's why I really love it, because then you have something that you don't see, but something that you can actually measure, and that's really good. So one of the quote that I wanted to highlight here is manifestation is essential, and about taking ownership of your future. It's about waking up to the fact that you are the creator of every single thing that is happening in your life. So very powerful, very empowering, and reminding us that everything that's happening in our life, we created, and we have the control to change it. So whatever we want to have in our life, we can create it by having the awareness, but also by taking action.
I love that idea of manifesting not just being something happening to you, but something that you help propel to actually occur. That's amazing. And Devin, I'd love to hear your book choice.
My book choice is The Music Lesson by Victor Wooten. Victor Wooten is not known for being an author. I mean, he is, but primarily he's known as perhaps one of the world's greatest bass players, with Bella Fleck and the Flecktone. He's won Grammy Awards and a number of awards as quite literally being the best bass player of the year. This is I just finished reading this. Here is, you can probably see where my cat bit the book. That has nothing to do with anything. However, anyway, this book is sort of like a spiritual journey. It is, if you are into magical realism, where it seems real, but then it takes fantastic turns. This is the book for you. And it really is, it's certainly about music. And it's the kind of book that if you are a musician yourself, wanting to learn how to play, or you are into the spiritual journey, this is a book that kind of talks about music in a way that you probably don't think about. And
hey, Devin.
So, I'm sorry?
I just want to say that your cat biting the edge of your book does have everything to do with everything, because it means it's not on your bookshelf where your cat can't get to it. It's out in the open where it can bite it.
Oh, yeah, no, for sure. I have books. Listen, we're here on Bookish for a reason. I've got stacks of books in every corner of the room. And so this was a book I really enjoyed. And I think that if you play music, I think it's an absolute must, because he's going to describe music in ways that most of us are not taught about music. He's going to just talk about things like rests rather than notes. And I think it's really a wonderful thing. And it's an absolutely wonderful analogy for life in general. So I think it's a wonderful read, no matter where you are in your universe. But if you are somebody who wants to play music, this is an absolute wonderful book for you. And Paula, back to you. What did you read?
So one of my favorite books, especially when I was starting my business, is Playing Big by Tara Mohr. And this book, to me, really exemplified how I was feeling at the time. It's genuinely all about breaking free of your inner critic and not learning how to silence it, but learning how to live with it. And as a woman that was working in corporate America and feeling like I was standing alone and feeling a little silenced and like I couldn't say the things that I wanted to say, this book really opened up my eyes to the possibility. And it's one that I recommend to all of my clients when they're first starting out as well. One of the most poignant quotes for me is attachment to praise and avoidance of criticism keeps us from doing innovative, controversial work, and more simply, from following the paths we feel called toward, whether or not those around us understand or approve. And that last little bit, whether or not those around us understand or approve, really were crucial to me, because it wasn't just about the doing the thing. It was about not caring. And it is about not caring what other people think and doing what feels really good and very aligned for us to get our voice out into the world. So I love all of the books that you've all chosen. Now they're all going to have to be ordered today. So to summarize, I just really like everyone to take a look at Bookish Club and join us. So thanks for allowing us to share our bookish recommendations with you. And we'll be right back.
Marketing guru and author Seth Godin stated, instead of wondering when your next vacation is, maybe design a life you don't need a vacation from. Encourage, enlighten, empower.
Professional boxer Muhammad Ali stated, "Don't count the days, make the days count. Encourage, enlighten, and empower."
And we're back. I personally want to thank you all for joining us today on Bookish Talk. We hope we said something that encouraged, enlightened, or empowered you to search for a book that may change your life. So join our Bookish Club and begin the journey to write and publish your story. Paula?
So make sure that you're tuning in with us next week, because we're going to be sharing some amazing tips with you on choosing a book and introducing you to another award-winning author. So you won't want to miss that. Visit our website in the meantime at thrivingwomen.com and subscribe. And make sure that you leave a question or comment in our live chat. And we'll see you next week.
Choice and opportunity, the foundation of the Capital Choice mission. We believe everyone has the choice to take control of their own financial independence. And we want to give more people the opportunity to achieve their goals. At Capital Choice, we help make financial wellness a reality. And you can be a critical part of the charge, a part of something bigger. Our associates are more than just salespeople to us. We're a team, a family that supports each other, and we have fun doing it. We want you to succeed. So we offer mentorship and training to help you get comfortable with the industry and serving clients. Our goal is to get you to a place of independence, to be in business for yourself. You choose how to grow, and we'll never take that away from you. Your business focus, how you build your team, how you serve clients, how high you climb, full-time versus part-time. The sky's the limit, and we'll be there for help and support along the way. At Capital Choice, we are passionate, empathetic, real. We give everyone equal opportunity, but you have the control and make the decisions. Want to see what you can achieve with more choice and opportunity? Join our team and find freedom with Capital Choice. Your business, your choice.